Welcome. It is football and random things. We are presented by Wyffels Hybrids. Connor Ferguson is out today. Jeff Woody will be joining us here in just a little bit. My name is Chris Williams. I am joined by the big man, Colin Newell.
1-0.
1-0, baby. I can't wait to talk offensive line with you. I want to talk about the Cyhawk game. We got a lot of geeky type stuff that I have picked up on. I've watched the game twice now. Looking forward to it. I want to thank our friends at Wyffels Hybrids for sponsoring us. And I also want to tell people, go buy their insurance from my main man, Colin Newell.
There we go.
Did you meet some people walking around the lots and stuff last week? I feel like that's good promotion for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good time just to get out there. And obviously, anytime you can be around Cyclone fans, I mean, are there better people out there?
My God, I bumped into... So I missed you. I met you and your lovely wife, by the way.
Yep.
Hey, boy, you outkicked your coverage there. What in the hell?
You know,
gee, many Christmas.
She's a lucky girl for sure. But yeah, she, when I was a little bit skinnier, a little bit younger, tricked her, and
there you go.
Happily married now for over a year.
My man. So I went over there to say hi to Bloom, and I bumped into Schweiger and Bryce Meeker. Those guys haven't gotten any smaller. Bryce Meeker is a monster of a human being.
Slimmed up, definitely lost some weight, but
he's a
massive
monster.
dudes, big shoulders.
The O-line. So I used to live with an offensive lineman, Scott Stevenson. Probably way before your time. He was all Big 12 guy. He was a center.
Okay.
So you have a lot in common with him.
Yeah.
Great guy. And when he got out of college, he looks like a different human now.
Yeah.
He's still in good shape, but he's like half of what he was. What is that like? Do you just because they used to have to wake up and drink protein shakes at like 3 a.m., right?
Oh yeah. There would be times where it'd be like the pizza pit.
Ugh.
Half price pizzas after
Pizza
9
Pit's
p.m.
really good.
And we'd order those and make sure we got our weight on and wake up in the middle of the night and drink protein shakes. That was definitely in the beginning of my career when I was trying to gain weight more so than later in the career. But it's an experience.
Yeah, no, you guys put your bodies through a lot, that's for sure. Okay, well, let's get into it. Get Colin's thoughts on the 30-9 win over Northern Iowa. And really, let's start to really look ahead to Iowa. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Can't wait to get Jeff in here. He's coming back from, I think it's public that him and his wife are having a baby. They had a doctor's appointment this morning, so he'll be here to join us. Overall, Colin, what did you think about that win over Northern Iowa?
I thought it was really good. It wasn't anything flashy. We went out there, played really good defense, played really good special teams, which was awesome.
Very
to see.
refreshing to see that. Yeah,
huge difference there. A couple big kick returns from Jalen Knoll. Just some awesome things to see. 56-yard field goal. You go on and on about the situational football that we played there, and that third piece of football, the offense, defense, and then that special teams part being a huge part of the game. Was something that we saw a lot of growth in, and something that we saw that was very helpful to the offense and to the defense.
Let's talk. I want to hit you specifically on the offensive line. Listen, it wasn't a finished product, but I actually came away from that, if that's the baseline, I'm okay with this right now. Because I don't think in the second half, you know better than me, but I think a lot of fans and I did the first time I watched it, I was like, man, I wish that Iowa State could have, pounded it down their throats a little more in the second half and wore them down. But man, the play calling was really vanilla. I kind of feel like you throw that out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it was very vanilla. It was go out there, hey, we have a lead. Let's play with this lead. Let's make sure that we can get our young quarterback going well, get him confident. What did he complete? 10 of 13. 10 of 13. You can't
118. Yeah, 2 touchdowns.
Can't be mad about that. That's something. Go out there, be a game manager, make sure we win the turnover battle. But that offensive line pretty much stuck to inside-outside zone. Didn't really give up much for pressures as far. No sacks in the game, which is a huge area of growth. Couple penalties. I'm sure they'll get those things corrected. Couple missed assignments.
Yeah, that would be the picky part, I think, about the game. But that's a lot of times in game one, that's the case.
That's game one. That's stuff. These dudes are working together. They've been going through camp and seeing an odd defense playing against our defense. So you're going out there and you're going to see some different things. I thought that they worked well together. I didn't see too many missed assignments. They were make sure to communicate. No blatant holy crap, what happened there. But I think that they'll clean a lot of that stuff up going into week 2 here. Having full game reps is something that you can't make up in practice.
When you watched the line specifically, did you pick up on different techniques, or could you tell they're being coached differently than when you played?
I think they just went out there and played really excited. I think that there was a lot of energy coming out of them. Definitely dudes firing off the ball.
Yeah.
But I'll be really interested to see this week. I think this week, first week is, there's a lot of nerves. There's a lot of excited energy. And they're just getting their first reps playing next to each other at full speed. I'll be curious to see the week 1 to week 2 jump to see how they are able to handle that, as well as playing a better defensive line.
One of the things I picked up on too, we saw Ben Bramer, the freshman tight end, get into the end zone.
Big time.
I thought you mentioned the no hurries thing. Clearly the tight end position. So they had 18 or 20 pass attempts, 8 targets to the tight ends. Mm-hmm. So clearly the passing game, the tight ends are going to be involved. But I feel like it's a better blocking tight end group too. It was again like last year when Easton Dean goes down.
Yep.
You really got nothing out of that. Hanukkah was a good receiver, but he wasn't a great blocker. It feels to me like everything we thought in the offseason, you're going to go double tight a lot. You're going to play really ball control style. You didn't put a quarterback in a position to screw up too much.
Yep.
I feel like we've nailed it up until now. Right?
Yeah.
Like that was exactly what I thought Iowa State's offense would look like.
Yeah, I think that the running game's going to progress too. I mean, you got some good dudes back there, a couple of young guys. I think that we're going to be able to see this offensive line come together. I mean, game reps, you can't make that up in practice. We go against an odd defense for a lot of practice and spring ball and all that, going against our own defense. So you get out there and you see a different defense, and it takes a game or two to be able to see, hey, this is how they're going to react. And every team plays a little bit differently. So those practice reps that you get against those scout teams are so valuable.
Yeah.
And then you get out to the game and you actually see what it's going to be like. And I think when we can get some of these young guys to maybe see some holes and make sure that these alignment are all working together, cleaning up some of those first game mistakes, that energy, that excitement that's coming out. Because like I said, we didn't see many missed assignments. It was more just aiming points, things like that, where, hey, we cleaned that up and those dudes start to get a little bit of confidence. It's just like any sport or any position. When you get confident, you play a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So when we're able to go out there and see us move some dudes and take those good points out of that film and be able to say, hey, there were some really good things we did as an offensive line.
I thought so too. Again, like in the moment, I wasn't blown away.
No.
Watching the tape back, and I actually said to Rob Gray, who works with us at halftime, I go, this second half's going to be unbearable.
Yeah.
Because you just knew Matt was going to. I talked to a member of Sports Information last night, but I hadn't seen the participation chart, and apparently Iowa State played over 30 guys on defense. The cramping was a thing.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was huge, just to be able to get some of those dudes reps. I mean, the new rule that you can play 4 games and still redshirt is huge, especially in a game like that. Like,
was that the case for you?
That was not the case for me when I redshirted. I think they changed it the year after.
Yeah.
But just being able to do that and be able to feel that and see that, because I mean, game speed is such a different thing. Playing in front of 60,000 people is a different feeling than what you got. And there's some situations where dudes get hurt and, hey, they have to step in late in the season and they're able to still keep the red shirt. It's a huge asset that you can have to say, hey, I have game reps, but I'm also still a redshirt freshman.
So we'll kind of start to dive more into the Iowa game when Jeff gets in here, which will be any minute. It's Football and Random Things. Jeff Woody and Colin Newell, presented as always by our friends at Wyffels Hybrids. Chris Williams sitting in to host for the week. I thought the D line would be good this year. You always had that, I wonder how you're going to be without Will McDonald, because you can't replace that guy. He's starting in the National Football League.
Yeah.
He's going to be a threat to be the Defensive Player of the Year for the rookies in the National Football League. You don't replace it. But this Onyedum and Dominic Orange combo, I don't think, and we've seen great offense with great defensive linemen since Matt Campbell came to Iowa State. Mm-hmm. This feels different with those two as far as the interior goes. And again, like we're going to see more development when it comes to the outside guys, but this Onyedum and Orange combo, like I'm a D-line guy. It's my favorite position.
There we go.
It's my favorite position to watch. You know why? It's because I watched so much, and Jeff Woody's here. God bless him. I watched so much bad D-line play for so long at Iowa State that I just I yearn for like a dominant D-line.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen the tone set better than when Dominic Orange rips the helmet off of Theo Day on the first play of the game. I'm really excited about this group.
Yeah,
I'm really, really fired up about those two guys.
I mean, you watch that dude and just see how massive he is.
Oh.
But he can move. He's strong. He wants to go out there and he's like, you talk about violence on the O-line, like that dude brings violence to the D-line.
Yeah.
Like no other. And T.O., I mean, that dude, he would be on scout team against us when I was there. And it was, when you saw him run down there, it was like, oh man, it's going to be a long day.
He had 7 tackles in the first half.
He's so strong. He's fast. Like it was a matter of time until he figured out how to put it all together because he had that natural ability. He had that strength and just the playmaking ability. 7 tackles, that defensive line, that's impressive.
He's really good.
And I think the plays that we saw him make, him get to the quarterback, but also stop the run. I mean, it's going to be an exciting time to watch him continue to develop throughout this season.
Jeff Woody's in the house. What's up, brother?
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I had an OB appointment with my wife, and as much as I like you guys, it's a priority.
Those OB appointments, did it go well?
Everything's fine. Just had to get ask some questions, had to get some shots.
Few times in my life has my anxiety been worse than those OB appointments.
We're all good. We just had to sit in between, like had to get a blood draw for something because she's entering the 3rd trimester. So you got to get the Rogam shot, whatever. So
we had to do that, the Rogam shot because of the blood thing.
Yep.
Had to wait outside the lab for 20 minutes. So it would have been here. Probably could have just called in, just sitting in the waiting room. But yeah, we're all good.
Well, we just decided to start because we have so much to talk about.
Colin's got a job. He has to go save people money.
Hayden's got to get to class too. So
what a baby.
We got a lot of stuff
Can't
going on.
get good grades and not go to class.
We got to get him to.
It's just harder.
We got to get him to graduation so he can come and work for us here
right.
full time. So we're looking forward to that. We hammered out the O line. We were just getting into the D line. I'll tell you. Let's just dive into Iowa. Is that cool with you guys?
That's awesome.
Football and random things were presented by Wyffels Hybrids. I've seen a lot of these Cyhawk games over the years where I felt like Iowa State outplayed them. And this is to their credit what Iowa does to people. And we've seen Bill Snyder do this a lot over the years too. But I felt like a lot of times, couple when you played, for sure, Colin.
Yeah.
Jeff, man, that was so long ago. I don't even remember those games anymore.
It was back in the 1830s.
Jeff, did you play Iowa and that triple overtime game? Was it like 2012?
2011.
2011.
Yep, 2011
I
game.
still have the text message when John Miller thought that Steele Jantz was a Heisman candidate. John Miller was like, God, this Jantz guy is really
He's good. He is. I mean, his ceiling was good. His floor was just very low. Like he was also a great dude, but like the mistakes he'd make, what are you doing? But when Steele was on, I have never played with or against a better player other than RG3 at quarterback when he was at his best.
Yeah, I mean that's high praise, but I don't know if he was really freaking good when he was
on, but the floor was lower when he wasn't.
Is Barnett still at Roosevelt?
Yeah, still is.
We got to get him in sometime. That'd be fun. I really like JB. He was a great guy.
He's got 2 young kids and he's coaching a football team, so scheduling becomes the problem.
Well, off season we'll get Jared in
because
I think it'd be fun to break those days down, live those days. So my fear on this game, because I actually like Iowa State a lot. Like I'm more confident than I usually am going into this game.
Yep.
And it really has more to do with Iowa State than it does Iowa. I think that they're going to be fine. Like they were bad on special teams. They'll clean it up. A lot of their defensive stuff, they'll clean it up. I mean, Cooper DeJean had a drop pick 6. They had a couple drop touchdowns. They really should have won that game by 30, okay? So, I am not overreacting to them. They're the same. I like Iowa State. What we saw, my fear is I've seen so many of these Cyhawk games, Jeff, where I feel like Iowa State outplays them, but Iowa State has 3 turnovers to none. And Rocco Becht, I think, was great. Game manager, all the stuff you asked him for. He hasn't seen what he's about to experience on Saturday. Where are you at on that?
So I think the thing Grant and I talked about it on Kicking It yesterday. We recorded last night, and there's one thing that gives me a lot more confidence than in years past. So the statistic of hidden yardage, I don't know, did you guys ever go through, like in special teams meetings, did you go through hidden yardage as a stat?
Yeah.
So when we would do it, we'd do hidden. Shane Burnham was the guy who was doing the coordinating and he would do hidden yardage so basically an average starting field position versus your average starting field position. So it's mostly special teams, but if a defense gets a stop on the 10 and they punt to the 50, that's a much easier field position start than if the defense allows them to drive to the plus 45 and they punt to the 2. So a lot of it's defense and special teams kind of together, and then your offense driving and whatever. And when we were playing, it was just if our average starting field position was our own 35 and their average starting field position was the 25, then you'd win that by 10 yards. Versus an easier way to quantify that and understand that is if you multiply that out by the number of possessions that were held, and then you just say, this is how many yards the opponent would have to get in order to get to where we started with the ball. So if I'm on the Iowa State roster and we average starting on the 35 and they started averaging on the 25, every single drive, they have to get 1 first down and then we're starting at the same spot. So I get a head start by this many yards. So hidden yardage, when you have a pick 6, that's a whole offensive drive that I don't have to do. So like in order to make up the amount that pick 6 just gave, you have to get 100 yards because that's all the way down. So including, I asked Mahoney this, and I'll ask you guys, including the pick 6, not using like a plus 10 or whatever, like the total number of yards that Iowa State started in front of UNI in just the first half, because the back half got weird.
Yeah.
How many yards do you think UNI had to gain to get to the equivalent amount that Iowa State had?
A lot.
What's a number? Like I want to see what your number is.
70 yards.
Colin?
I'm going to go over that 80.
209.
Wow.
So when you're watching that
That's
game,
an incredible stat.
So when you were watching that game in the first half of the UNI game, and you're looking like Iowa State only had 150 yards or whatever it was, UNI had 85 yards. Iowa State started 209 yards in front of them and then had 150 yards. So it's the equivalent of of Iowa State having like 350 yards of offense in that first half. That's what Iowa does against everybody. This special teams unit, assuming that this is not a blip, that Iowa State's punt unit, because I mean the ball flight on Tyler Perkins' punt was great.
Buckets.
It's what you want like a golf shot to be. You don't want it to be straight up in the air. You want it to like take off a little bit, catch the nose of the football up, and then drop back down. So assuming that's not a blip, Iowa State can match Iowa in those special teams units, forcing the offense to gain. So like in years past, Iowa gets an interception, or the year that you guys, it's that the game day game when it was 4 turnovers. Well, Iowa's starting in plus territory every single time. I still remember Iowa had 16 yards of offense in the second half of that game and still won because of hidden yards.
It felt like they were dominating too in the weird, like,
Yeah.
Like when they do that, but they, like Colin, they had a block punt and they had 2 punts that almost got blocked. They weren't great.
So this Iowa State unit can compete with Iowa's special teams, forcing it to be an offense and defense versus each other game because the special teams unit should offset. So Iowa will have to earn this game much more than they have to in the past because they're not likely to get that head start that they would have in the past. So it comes down then to, can Iowa's offense execute against Iowa State's defense better than Iowa State's offense can execute against Iowa's defense? And to that, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm much less concerned about those weird, like, I mean, how is Iowa up 17
Even
to 10
last
right
year's
now?
game, like Iowa State won, but
They shouldn't have. They shouldn't have.
Yeah, with all the mistakes.
Exactly. Iowa just made more of them. There was just more mistakes.
But if you look at like the total yardage of that game and stuff, Iowa State killed them.
Yeah.
They were running up, but then you'd fumble on the 1 yard line.
it's
Yeah,
hidden
how many
yards.
blocks pumped?
Yeah,
It's hidden yards. They had 2 drives that started inside the 25, inside Iowa State's 25 because of 2 blocked punts. So you add those yards in. If I get the ball on and I only have 10 yards to gain, and you get the ball, but you have 98 yards to go, you can gain 50 yards and still have to punt. I can gain -6 and kick a field goal. So where you start is a huge difference in this. And this is the first year, again, assuming the special teams quality that we saw against UNI is not a blip, that is a huge equalizer going into this game.
I think one thing to think about this game too is the number of plays that are happening across college football.
Yeah.
If we have any turnover, if you win the turnover battle in college football right now, you're gonna get extra like you're already getting extra possession, but you're also gonna get extra reps. So if you're holding Iowa to 30, 40 reps on offense, that's going to be a fresh defense that's out there.
All right, Rocco Becht. We all loved what we saw on Saturday. Really efficient. 10 of 13, I think 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran for 1. I thought his progressions were great. You know, he was seeing the field very well, much better than the true freshman J.J. Cole. I think that you would expect that. How confident are you, Colin, that he can carry that over against a much better defense in the University of Iowa?
I think he showed that he's going to go to his tight ends. He's not going to be forced to throw the ball down.
Targeted him half the time.
Half the time. If you can get 5-10 yard outs on those guys and have that security blanket, stay efficient on offense, hopefully run the ball a little bit and not get in 3rd and 10, 3rd and long situations, and you're able to be efficient and check the ball down there. I think that he's going to be in a good situation. That's just a confidence booster for him, and certainly something that the team can rally around.
What about you, Jeff?
I think when we were doing the previews and whatever speaking engagement, I'm sure you had the same thing when someone comes out and asks you to, or someone asks you to come out and talk to their group or whatever. And the question is always who's going to start. And my answer is almost always Rocco. He's just more experienced. And what I saw on Saturday, it reinforces that point. And JJ will get there. He's a baby and things are going fast.
Yes.
And but with Rocco being out there, my answer to that question when everyone said that is it doesn't matter who's playing out there. It will be more in rhythm than we saw last year. And the thing that I feel more confident is that he's going to be asked to do less because it's less remarkable what he's doing. Meaning, it's 1st and 10. It's better than 2nd and 10, 2nd and 6.
Yeah.
And it's better than 3rd and 9, 3rd and 2. And so you're not trying to gain 15 yards on every single play. A lot of what he would do is you're going to get a tight end, like Gabe Burkle bodied up against a safety, and I'm going to throw it his inside shoulder. It's going to be a catch tackle, and it's going to be 2nd and 6. Mm-hmm. And it's not sexy. It's not fancy. It's just that play has a really high floor that like Burkle breaks a tackle, or Brahmer on that one, it was a wheel route. He outran a safety, which is wild that a dude that big is just galloping away from a safety. But you put the ball into a guy's hands and then just let him go do something and see what happens. Iowa, you're probably not going to get a lot of those broken tackle big plays, but if you can consistently drive and get 35 yards on a drive and then punt it to their 2, force Iowa to do something and come back. So it feels like the mistakes that he is liable to make are going to be less severe than what we saw last year out of Hunter Deckers. So I'm more confident with Rocco in this offense, not because he's trying to do crazy things. It's because he's got a bunch of big dudes that he can throw to for 5 yards and then just do that all the way down the field. So yeah, I think that's the way the offense is going to look is going to be just in rhythm, inside the system style offense, which is, that's what Brock did, and that's why he was the best quarterback to ever play.
Yep.
He does have a weird, kind of reminds you of a young Brock.
Yeah.
Same body type. And like when he was seeing the field more the other day, like compared to, we didn't see much of him from last year. Like I don't really even count any of that, but I kind of thought the same thing.
Yeah, I think he's extremely efficient. You could tell that people were rallying around him. There was the times when we didn't really have many series where he goes out there and it's 3 and out or inefficiency. He was putting the ball right on target and kind of like what he was saying there, like 5 yards a pop is pretty efficient there.
The running backs, that run that Norton had to start that when it got called back for holding, I think the holding was on Noel. Yeah, Noel got called for the holding on that one. We didn't see that last year from Cartevious Norton. Like that was a different level of twitch from him. Now he was hurt all last year, which is important, but kind of wore down a little bit where we didn't. But I'm really pretty encouraged, Jeff, with him and Sama. Like that feels like a pretty good 1-2 punch for me. If that line can keep coming around. What did you think of those guys?
100%. And I am on record as saying that the guys that I expected to play would be Norton's going to be your dog because he's 6'1", 230. And if he can scoot a little bit, like if he can play David Montgomery football, like that's amazing because Dave Montgomery, I don't know the number of times that he had a 40-yard run, but he had a ton of 12-yard runs.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that especially against a defense like Iowa's, where they're built to not give up chunk plays. Like everything they do is they play really high safeties most of the time. They're going to play cover 2 or cover 4, and they just trust their defensive line is going to play a 2-gap, let their linebackers make a play. So if you can break one tackle, you're not going to probably run for 70. Like that's why one of the things that like I think is misconstrued often is when people are like, this dude's really fast, he's going to be a great running back. I think Kirk Holland was one of the people. He actually looked up this statistic. It was something like 16 runs in Breece Hall's best year in 2021. It's like 16 runs were 20 yards or more. He had 200 carries that year, and 16 of them were further than 20 yards, which means all the rest of them are underneath that.
Yeah.
So your big physical running back, if he can see it, if he can be a little bit twitchy to find and create some space by himself, it makes your job easier.
Absolutely. Because
then if Y.A. Black, big defensive lineman, if I as a running back have to hit him square on, I'm dead in the water. But if you can just get most of a body on him, and Norton can kind of rip through and turn a 1-yard gain into a 4-yard gain because I can drag a dude, we're in 2nd and 6. And so Norton, that's the way that this offense is going to be successful. And then whoever the home run hitter is, like Sama saw it better. He's a historic long jumper, crazy athlete, still had more balance than than a lot of people expected. And whether it's Eli Sanders, it doesn't matter, but you have one guy that every once in a while can just pop one when the defense is tired. But the way with 700 tight ends that are 260 pounds, and you have a 325 pound offensive line, and you got Steve O'Klotz that's going to come in and lead the way, and then you have a 230 pound linebacker or running back. That's the offense that it wants to be. So the running backs looked good because they played within the system that they're meant to play with and played super physical and just made 2 or 3 extra yards on top of whatever they would have normally gotten.
All right, we're short on time here, so I want to get right to Iowa. Colin, what is it about this defense? We all know about Iowa State's defense, right?
Yep.
The 3-down linemen, the dime stack, all that stuff, John Haycock's system. What is it about Iowa's defense that is so hard to play against?
They don't make mistakes. They are so good at doing their job, each individual, that they're not going to allow the big play, kind of like Woody had said there. Like they're going to play deep, and their defensive linemen are going to play the defensive or offensive line and be able to play either gap. And then, hey, if ball runs there, hey, I'm going to fall off this way. If ball runs the other way, I'm going to fall off this way. Allowing the linebackers to be freed up and eat up double teams on that first level, so offensive linemen can struggle to get to the second level and get to their linebackers. I think that they're so well coached.
Yeah.
You know, their scheme works well. They know exactly how they want to play, and they've been doing it for 15, 20 years and had a lot of success at it. So you see guys go out there and operate efficiently in front of you when you're a young guy. Hey, this is what it takes to play and be really good at Iowa. Hey, you have that culture of, I need to do that to be able to get on the field.
Jeff, did you see any soft spots in that defense? Because Utah State was moving the ball. I mean, more than I thought that they would. Again, I'm not going to overreact too much to that game, but did you see anything when you watched it?
They play a very different offense than Iowa State's going to play. Like they barely ran the ball between the tackles. Like they were playing 4 or 5 wide pretty much the entire game, and would every once in a while mix in an inside the box run. That's not really where Iowa's at their strength. But what I would say, the defensive line is Iowa's defensive line. And like the thing that he was saying is like they don't make mistakes. But I bet right now, if I gave you any offensive formation, you could probably draw Iowa's defense.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Like you've seen,
they don't change.
You saw it 4 times.
Yep.
I saw it 4 times. It doesn't. It's the exact same. No matter who's the defensive coordinator, it is exactly the same, and they just do it really well. But the things that they have, I think that Iowa State will be able to take advantage of. The biggest matchup to me is Iowa State's tight ends and running backs versus the Iowa linebackers, because Higgins, I think 34 he's a fire plug.
He had like 17 tackles.
Well, he should. The way that they run their defense. So he was saying a two gap technique is literally defensive line. It just extends in the middle of your chest as an offensive lineman, and he just looks over your shoulder. And if you're running if I'm the defender and you're running to my left, I go to my left and I try and throw the offensive lineman to my right. So on my right is a pile of offensive linemen, can't run through that. On my left is me. And that two-gap technique, worst case scenario for them is that I'm holding up this guard so you can't get up to the linebacker, so the linebackers just get to run around and do whatever they want. So in Iowa's defense, their leading tacklers by a long ways should be their linebackers. Iowa State plays their safeties a lot more aggressively up. So Iowa State's leading tacklers, safeties, linebackers, doesn't really matter. So the dude had like 17 tackles, but he should because the defensive line did a really good job. But put him in a position where he's got to cover Gabe Burkle, where he's got to cover Tyler Moore, where he's got to potentially get out on a route against somebody else, and he's got to cover and play in space. I think that's the big matchup is, do Iowa State's tight ends and running backs, are they able to take advantage of the linebackers? Because Jack Campbell was one of the best to ever play linebacker at the storied history of Iowa's linebackers.
Yeah.
But he's not there. He's not. 6'4" athletic dude is a first-round draft pick, not there anymore. And now you're going to have to match up against really athletic tight ends. I think that's the matchup that if Iowa State is to have success on offense against that defense, I think that's where the advantage lies, is the big athletic tight ends that Iowa State has against linebackers who are slightly less athletic than they were last year.
Colin is a novice observer. I got frustrated a couple times when you guys lost Iowa because I was like,
Yeah, Colin, why'd you do that?
well, no, hear me out, and I want to pick your brain on this because it goes off of what you were saying. Because I always looked at it like, why are we trying to run two tight ends against that defense? Because we're playing right into what they want. I get. What do you think about that? Or is what we think Iowa State's offense is going to be this year? Does that play into Iowa?
Yeah, I think honestly this game is won with special teams and taking care of the football.
Yeah.
We know what they're going to do on offense. We know what they're going to do on defense. And they know they historically have really good special teams. So
Yeah,
I
and they're pretty open about it too. Like they don't change much.
They're not going to change. So I think if we can go out there and win a turnover battle, it's going to be a good situation. I think it's you have to beat Iowa by out executing them. You know, they don't give up chunk plays, and if you can go out there.
So I'm overthinking it.
Oh, yeah.
I think so,
years
yeah.
that I'm talking about too, Iowa State had 3 turnovers to none. So yeah,
I mean that's 3. You know, kind of like the hidden yardage that we talk about.
Yeah.
It just kills you when you get in those situations, and you don't have to be high scoring offense for them to win a game if they can create two turnovers a game and then pin people on the 2-yard line.
I did laugh at your boy Charlie Kohler. Did you see his tweet?
I loved it. I think everyone was thinking that, man, oh man, just going out there and actually convincingly beating UNI and not being in a dogfight till the fourth quarter or overtime. It's
NFL tight end Charlie Kohler, for those who missed it, tweets out during the game, I never got to play in a blowout of Northern Iowa.
Yeah. Oh,
Must
man.
be nice.
To get 30 guys into the game would be super nice.
Yeah, was it 36 guys had a defensive statistic in that game? It's wild. That is an incredible number. Even for if you're putting your backups in, like that's backups and third stringers rotating in. And I don't know how many guys recorded an offensive statistic or an offensive snap, but I bet 60 to 70 dudes played a snap on Saturday.
Well, we got to get going. Aiden's got to get to class. Appreciate you guys. This was great analysis. Do you have you don't have to give a prediction yet. It's only Tuesday, but I feel a lot better about Iowa State now. And after watching a lot of the Big 12 games, I thought Iowa State would be okay. Right.
Yeah.
It was, but seeing them out there made me feel a lot better. And then the Big 12 had a disastrous weekend. Like there's a lot of potential wins out there for this team.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that like TCU losing to Colorado, not super surprising because they lost their offensive coordinator, their Davey O'Brien winning quarterback, their first round wide receiver, and the running back who made everything go, and 1 or 2 of their offensive linemen. They lost all of that. And they still managed to score 42 points, but like their defense wasn't any good. Now you don't have Mr. Moxie back there at quarterback. Like it was going to happen. Tech, I don't know why the hype train existed for Tech anyway. Like I've never until you show me otherwise. Same thing with Texas. Like everything's
one of the worst scheduling jobs in history.
Playing it at 5,000 feet or 7,000 feet in your opener on the road.
I get it in like the 3rd game of the year. That's a terrible decision to go there in the opener.
Yeah,
everybody's amped up. That Wyoming crowd was huge.
You're gassed because it's going at altitude.
Yeah, those people, they have a halfway decent football history too. It's not like it's going into somewhere where it's...
Baylor's loss to Texas State was one of the biggest upsets I've ever seen in this sport.
That I don't know much about. Are they?
Texas State has no business even being on the same field as Baylor. If you know a lot about Texas football,
I didn't get to watch that.
My God,
I wonder if
I haven't
that's.
seen it either.
I wonder if that's like a Louisiana Monroe game at the beginning of. I mean that was also one where Louisiana Monroe's probably got a better history than Texas State does. But like by the end of that season, they you guys righted the ship and managed to get back focused. So like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on every single one of these, but that one that feels like a wake up slap.
Blake Shapen is out 2 to 3 weeks as well, so he may not be back. They could realistically be in a real. They got Utah this week.
Ooh,
that's not easier.
They're talking about
fist fight.
Yeah, they're going to get their asses kicked, I think. All right, I love you guys. Good job, appreciate it. Thanks to Aiden for producing our presenting sponsor, Wyffels Hybrids. You know where to find us here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. Thanks for watching. If you're on the YouTube feed, thanks for listening anywhere you listen to your podcast. We got a lot more coming up this week here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.